Welcome to the Reconnected.me podcast with Lucy Lichtenstein. That's me. Who are we as humans and beyond that? What is our nature? How do we reconnect to the deepest, wildest parts of ourselves? How important is tribe and community? What is our natural design when it comes to nutrition, movement, sleep, and our environment? What about self-love, rewilding, philosophy, or following your bliss? It's here that we discuss all this and so much more on conscious living in this safe space where all ideas and perspectives are welcome. And now, on to the show. Hi everyone, welcome to the Regenerative podcast. This is Lucy from www.reconnected.me. Today I've got a very special guest on the show for you. It's Luke Winder who is a farmer and owner of Tafra Place Free Range. Hi Luke, how are you going?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
Thank you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Not a problem.
So Tafra Place Free Range is a family farm located in Tarrauga, New South Wales, and it's a completely free-range, holistically managed pasture-raising farm that honours and mimics nature's ecosystem, you know, the plants, the animals, the soil, the microorganisms. And I first met Luke at a screening of What's with Wheat in Gaimea sometime last year, and Luke was actually talking to us about his farm and the farming methods he uses, and which are based on the farming systems of Joel Salatin from Polyface Farms, and who's a well-known farmer over in the States. And Luke really caught my eye because I'm very, very passionate about where my food comes from. I'm quite particular about it, and you know, I saw the passion that Luke had talking about what he and his family does. And when they mentioned, when Luke mentioned that they do farm stays, I went ahead and booked one and you know, had the privilege of spending time out at the farm with his beautiful family and really just got to see the operations of how the farm runs and really got to witness what a beautiful life the animals have as well. So I'm really excited to share this conversation with you all. And Luke, would just love to know, first off, can you tell us a little bit about your story? So, you know, how did you get into all of this, and who are you, and how did it all begin?
Yeah, no worries. Well, look, I'm born and raised in the Sutherland Shire. I'm well and truly a hobbit, the Southern Shire of Sydney. And unfortunately, about 2 years ago now, my dad got very sick, got a brain tumour, and he didn't have his partner had already passed away, unfortunately, so he needed a full-time carer. And between me and my brother, I was really the only option for him. So I stopped working as an electrician. I'm an electrician by trade, and I cared for him until, unfortunately, he did pass away. And watching your father go through something like that, it's very hard to do that without asking some pretty serious questions of yourself and what you're doing with your life. And I kind of figured if I only had 35 odd years left, I mean, hopefully I don't, but my dad was only 67 when he passed away, that I wanted to do something a little bit more fulfilling, soul fulfilling, and to find my passion and to pursue it. And that's how I stumbled onto what I was doing. Without going into too many details, I spent time on farms, cousins' farms growing up, and I simply asked myself, truly, when have I been most happiest? And that's when it's been. So, yeah, that's. I mean, there were a lot of giant steps between being an electrician in the Southern Shire to being a farmer, but that's more or less how it happened, and that's my story. So, that's how I find myself where I am now.
Yeah, beautiful. Where does that passion come from? Because I mean, I've come across a lot of farmers over the years, but you just seem to have this, I don't know, there's this like light and there's this, you know, deep passion for what you do, and it comes through even at the farmers markets when we see you. Where does that come from?
Geez, that is a hard question.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're truly in love with every second of every single day, you get the privilege to walk this earth. And you're just so passionately in love with the animals that you have the honour of growing, I mean, it's hard not to be smiling, and it's hard not to be enthusiastic. The other thing is, it's the age-old adage. It's very easy to sell something you believe in, and I truly believe in what I'm doing, and that's why I stand out at the markets, because I can stand behind you. Every claim I make, I can stand behind it. You've been out there yourself. You've seen what I'm doing, so. Yeah, I think once you find your passion, you'll know you've found your passion.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think also. What made you stand out to me as well is that you kind of said, you know, we have nothing to hide. You actually encourage people to come out and stay on the farm and visit and ask questions, and I think that's really, really special, because it shows transparency and you know, trust, and when that's what people want, and that's what people Yeah, look, you've already done it. You've already done it for me, but I have to credit Joel Salatin. Yeah.
And anybody who doesn't know who Joel Salatin is, I'll implore you to try and find out a little bit more about him. But I quote him a lot, only because there's a bit of a joke in our family now that my brother Mark found God and has since become a pastor, and I found Salatin. So if I'm quoting Joel Salatin a bit, I apologise for that, but he is an incredibly clever man. So the saying goes, if there's any farm, and unfortunately there's far too many in this country, any farm with a no trespassing sign up out the front, well, what are they doing? What do they not want you to see? You know, so that transparency, we have a 365 day a year, 24-hour a day policy where you can walk onto my farm. Whether I be there or not, you can go through every single shed and every single drawer and try and find all the nasties, but they're just not there. So come and see what I'm doing. It's better than any organic label or any sticker or any stamp or anything you can pay for. Come out yourselves and see what I'm doing. I can offer no more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Can you give us a bit of an insight into your philosophy when it comes to farming and animals and food? I'd love to know about that.
Yeah, well, look, the idea is we're a pasture-based, regenerative, multi-species stacked farm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure everybody's heard the term sustainable, but if you look into and do a little bit of research into farming in Australia for the last 50 years, let me assure you it's not a standard that we should be sustaining. We need to fix it, and it needs to be improved. That's why we say regenerative farming.
Yeah.
So it's based around viewing herbivores and animals in nature and then creating a template that you can use commercially on a farm. That comes down to. So, I mean, I'm not sure how much detail you want me to go into
as
here,
much
but
as you want.
Okay, well, look, it's herbivores in nature. They're the key to building topsoil. So a cow, I'll use a cow, but it can be a lot of different herbivores. But in the case of a cow, there's 50 pounds can go out the rear end of a cow every single day. Now, if you add that up, that's a lot of topsoil, and that's an incredible tool as far as building topsoil. But the problem with a cow is once it has done its business, it's, as everybody knows, who I'm sure everybody here has seen a cow paddock, it's exactly that. It's about the size of a dinner plate. And it's not really going to do a lot of good as it stands. It's too thick. A lot of it's going to get dissolved back up into the atmosphere. Most of it will go to waste. And that's where the multi-species stacking comes in. The idea, Joel Salatin's idea, is to rotate his animals very aggressively, and therefore give the opportunity for chickens and other animals. Doesn't have to be chickens. Normally birds follow herbivores in nature, so I use chickens. And what the chickens will do is they'll take that dinner plate cow patty and they'll scratch that out over about 4 square metres, and all of a sudden you're using the whole thing. The reason they're going through it is to eat the maggots, which is a fantastic byproduct. It stops a lot of fly-blown issues and transmitting a lot of diseases. From there, I run my meat chickens across the same piece of ground again for even more nitrogen. And it's a very delicate dance that you dance with your animals, and you let your animals do all the work. You can use your pigs in your. I mean, you've seen it yourself. I had a lot of wooded areas were just full of blackberry, and the pigs are just incredible at rooting out all the blackberry. And just allowing your pigs to be pigs and still do some work for you as well. That's generally the idea of it. There's a lot more detail than that. But mobbing your cows so that you know exactly where that waste is hitting the ground, following through with chickens, following through with birds, and then I've got another layer on that now with my beautiful Peking duck, which I'll run across the same area of ground. They like the grass really, really short, so it's working quite well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I would actually love to know like a little bit more detail, but first, if you're able to just explain for maybe those who don't know, what is topsoil?
Yeah, so topsoil is the most important part of the substrate, I suppose. It's depending on where you live. For me, it's about 12 to 14 inches, and for that, I'm really lucky. My place is by no means the most fertile place in the world, but I do have a good amount of topsoil, and it has been without glyphosate. People that don't know what glyphosate is, that's the main ingredient in Roundup. So, been spray-free for about 15 or 16 years. So, not only have I got, say, 12 inches of topsoil, but it's completely spray-free. So the microorganisms and the life that I have in that first 12 inches is quite impressive. Yeah. But we're improving on it every single day. Topsoil is created by, obviously, the physical waste out of a cow hitting the ground and adding to it. But the quickest way to generate topsoil is actually with perennial pasture, perennial grasses. Okay, not an annual crop. They're quite detrimental. But a natural perennial pasture is an incredible way to build topsoil. The reason that works is that a perennial grass, whatever's grown on top of the ground, there's at least the equal amount, often double, depending on the species, of actual roots underneath the ground. So if there's 6 inches above the ground, there could be 12 inches below it. So when a cow comes along and prunes that, which is the other really, really important role of the herbivore, the pruning or the mowing, what actually happens is it uses the energy stored in its roots to regrow. And then they break away and they decompose, and they're actually building topsoil as well. So you're building topsoil on top of the ground with the waste from the chickens and the cows, and you're actually building it under the ground with this cycle of the roots being decomposed as there's energy the stored energy is used for that plant to regrow. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically this ecosystem that continues to kind of feed through this cycle, and it's like you're giving back to the animals are eating the pasture, and then they're giving back to the pasture, and then this regeneration is happening. Yeah. And
the art to it is for the farmer is for me to keep the growth cycle of that grass in a position where it's constantly up and down like a yo-yo. If you grows it too far and you cut it right down to juvenile grass, it takes a long time for it to grow. So the art is to keep it in that really, really high growth cycle part. And look, the best part about this whole cycle, a lot of people, carbon's a big issue, and I'm not going to get into it, but if you're interested in sequestering carbon, there is no greater way of sequestering carbon than through natural perennial grasses, because people look at a tree and they say, wow, look at all that carbon stored in the trunk of that tree. It's 10 metres high in the case of Australia. That's amazing. But what they don't realise is that tree is probably 35, 40 years old. If you consider how far the natural perennial grass would have actually grown in 30 years, probably about 2-3 kilometres of grass. So it's a lot more effective way of actually sequestering carbon back down into the earth. So, yeah, it's something that it's a bit of a no-brainer, to be perfectly honest. And the standard question I get is, why isn't everyone doing this?
Yeah.
And I don't have a good answer for that, other than it's a lot more work. It's a lot more work. It's more hours on the ground. But yeah, I think maybe if more people had the knowledge, that they would consider it.
Yeah, absolutely. It does seem like a no-brainer, and I suppose it really comes also back to what are we trying to achieve here. Like, you obviously really care about the food system, and you have young children, and so having space where you can kind of create or be part of creating a world where we have a say in what happens to our food and, you know, looking after the environment and all those types of things. I suppose it comes down to, like the ethics behind that, and, you know, whether it's for health or whether it's for money or for some other reason. And I suppose you say maybe a lack of education as well, like maybe just a lot of people don't know about this way of farming, because for so long it's just been, you know, it's either been conventional farming or these methods are just very new to people. And so...
Yeah, look, I mean, I talk a lot about the average age of farming in Australia. Look, just to hit on what you were just talking about there, generational farming in Australia it's a pretty big issue. The average age of a farmer now in Australia is just ticked over 60. And I'm being very general here. There are some amazing young farmers. I want to say this first.
Sure.
Some incredible young farmers in Australia. But a lot of the farmers we've got now are people. So farmer had his kids, you know, one's a dentist, one's an accountant, and the one that couldn't get through year 10, he's now the farmer. And I know that that's a very general statement, but I'm telling you, it is an issue. And the only farming practices he will use are the ones that his daddy showed him. And there's a lot of people, I'm seeing it all the time, and they just won't go outside that traditional, spray, plough, sow. Yeah. And it's just the cycle they're in, and they think that, you know, you have to grow annual crops to feed out cows. And they come to my place and they say, oh, you know, you'll never carry 40 cows on this place. But, you know, you don't bother arguing with them, but that's just multi-generational brainwashing is what we're up against. So people say to me, mate, you know, you're from Sydney, you've never been a farmer. And I say, yeah, that's my greatest advantage, mate. My greatest advantage. Yeah. I'm not indoctrinated. I'm not been corrupted by anyone else's ideas. Yeah. So I'm making a million mistakes out here, and a lot of my ideas have been stupid. But I've had one or two half decent ones, and, you know, I'm trying something different, you know, so.
Yeah. Have you ever considered maybe doing, I mean, obviously you've got a lot of things going on, but like having some kind of mentorship or some kind of training that would allow young farmers to come and actually see what you're doing, and then maybe take that into their own farms or to their own, you know, whatever the case may be.
I can't say too much, but the wheels are in motion.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Probably not too far away from looking at having a program very similar to that. I'm also very, very interested in just getting other people on board. Take components of the business. It's growing probably a little bit faster than what I'd anticipated, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking for people, anybody that was, for example, this is one that's, a bit of an issue for me at the moment. I'm desperate to start my horticulture.
Yeah.
It's a bit cold out there, but realistically, I've cleared this block. I'm ready to go. I've got the equipment. I've got the water. I've got everything. But realistically, I'm not sure where I'm going to be able to find the time. I'd love for somebody to take over my horticulture.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Wow.
Get more people involved But the mentor program, that is going to happen. I just don't want to speak out of turn because I'm... Yeah.
Oh, that's good, though. That's amazing that you're thinking about it, because I think that's exactly how we spread this even further and get other people involved, because it's the same, I think, if you just think about any kind of industry or, say, health, for example, is you have all these practitioners that have this knowledge that are practicing in a particular way that's very different to the mainstream, say, medicine model. And in order to be able to get that, you know, those same methods practiced or the same sort of paradigm, I think it's about, sharing that message and training other people in the methods that are working.
Definitely, but like a lot of things in this country, having a mutual agreement with another consenting adult isn't enough, and bureaucracy's going to stick its head in the way. So we're currently going through all the legalities of it and making sure we're in this other sort of stuff. So that will definitely happen.
Yeah.
But the other thing is too, I've already influenced one or two other farmers out there, not to the degree that they've sort of taken on these farming methods detailed as what I have, but I've got a few guys running some chooks out there, which is really cool, and they're seeing the benefits of that straight away. So, yeah, hopefully from a little postage stamp out there, we can start spreading the message and getting a few more people involved. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, amazing. Well, do you want to go, like you said that there's, obviously a fair bit more to talk about in terms of like the operations of your farm. Do you want to go a bit more into that? Feel free to sort of go, as much detail as you want.
Why don't we do a little bit of a virtual tour?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah? Okay. So I suppose, the main component of my farm. So it's 120 acres. We're just outside of Taralga in the Southern Highlands. And the main component, say about 100 acres, or a bit less than that, say 80 acres, it's split into 12 cells. So these cells are fenced with an electric wire at the top and then chicken wire around the bottom, 900 high. And in these cells, that's where I can break them up and mob graze cows. I can then run my chickens through these areas. And the advantage of these cells is I can have one of these amazing, amazing dogs, Maremas, okay? So I have these Maremma dogs that once they're locked in these cells, they can't get out. Not that they want to, but they can't. So whatever I have in that cell, whether it be ducks, chickens, I've done a few different breeds of chickens, cows, whatever's in there, I know I have 100% predator protection. No worries at all. Predation isn't even an issue that enters my mind. It's incredible. We're riddled with fox. So I see foxes out there all the time. But because of these dogs, we don't have any issues. So I have these 12 cells set up, and I rotate the cows, the laying hens, the meat birds, and the Peking duck accordingly in that order. And the dogs can be moved around with them wherever I need them. And once they're within these cells, I know everything's safe. So that's a system that sounds really simple as I say it there, but it's taken me a long time to land on that as a really good template. I think that's pretty original to me.
Yeah.
But within those cells, I actually split them up to even smaller sections for the cows. They're mobbed very, very tightly. And then I'm lucky with my place that I have about a third of the place is wooded areas, and that's where I run my pigs around. So I only run a breed called Wessex Saddlebacks. Mm-hmm. I'm in love with them.
Yeah.
My boar's name is Gorgeous George, and he's an absolute legend. There's not many places you can go and lay on the boar's back and give him a cuddle and a kiss and whatever else. But they have, again, I have 14 pig paddocks, and they're rotated around. And the very unique thing about Joel Salton's technique is with the pigs is they're not just free-ranged. There's plenty of places you can go to get free-range pig, but it's pastured. Yeah. So pigs graze a lot. People don't think pigs graze. You need to come out and see me. I'll show you. They eat a lot of grass, and when you see them doing that, kind of breaks your heart with the knowledge that most pigs in this world don't get the opportunity to do so. So they're rotated around these other 14. They're about an acre to 2 acres, the pig paddocks.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I have a section right down the bottom called Pig Island. It's got a creek going through it, and it's really, really nice. And it's, people, obviously, when it comes day for these sort of animals to be processed, it's still hard. But when you see the way that they live, you've got a clear conscience. So the pigs still get a supplementary grain, and it's a product called DDG, which is the byproduct of the beer brewing process, and it is just gorged full of all these amazing vitamins and minerals. And the advantage for me there is it's a very high protein feed, but it hasn't got so much energy, because the Wessex Saddlebacks are known for putting on too much fat. And at the beginning, that's exactly what I was just disgusting. I mean, look, the fat's fantastic. We all know that, but not 80, 90 mils of it. So this DDG just means I'm turning out sort of 12 to 15 mil of fat perfectly every single time. Yeah. And it's working really, really well. So everyone else gets commercial GMO-free feed. So that's including the ducks and the chickens. The cows only eat the perennial pasture, which is really important. Unfortunately, in Australia, if you have grain coming out of a silo into a cow, that's grain-fed. But if you have a cow grazing on an annual crop, that's not grain-fed. So, I mean, that's another conundrum. Yeah. I'm not sure how. But rest assured, cows should be eating naturally occurring perennial grasses. There's no if, buts, anything about that. Talk to any nutritionist. That's what a cow should eat. And if it's eating anything else than that, it's not really a cow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we let cows be cows, we let chickens be chickens, and we let the pigs root around, and we allow them to show off their pigness as well, as Joel.
As Joel Salatin says. Yeah. Do you want to explain, just for those that may not know, so why cows should not eat anything but grass? You know, their ruminants, their digestive tract, that kind of thing.
Well, I have my local nutritionist sitting on my shoulder now saying, I've told you this 100 times, Shalani. No, look, I've been put through it chapter and verse so many times.
Yeah.
It's just, we'll put it this way, you know, I'll put it the exact same way Joel Salatin would answer this.
Yeah.
Anybody that can show me in nature where a herbivore is eating some barley or some rye or some lupins or any annual crop, you can show me where that happens in nature, and I'll change my mind. I think that's the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah.
You know, let's all admit that nature is inherently accurate and right and healing, and that if nature says that herbivores shouldn't be eating annual crops, that's enough for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just for anyone that wants to know a little bit further, so cows are ruminants, and basically they have a completely different digestive tract that, you know, completely different to what humans have. So we can't eat that grass that they're eating. So they need to, this is why they're grazing for a lot of the day. They kind of turn that grass into something usable that then we can eat to get that nutrition from them. And they've got, I think it's maybe 3 or 4 stomachs or something, and they have these microorganisms that are within the stomach that kind of help them turn that grass into nutrition. And if they eat grain or anything that's outside of that, that's where, you know, they can't actually digest that, and that's when they start to get sick. And then, you know, there's the question of antibiotics and hormones and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's the other side of it. But absolutely, I agree with you. Like, it makes sense. I mean, the grass is there for them to eat, and they're not going to go and look for grain crops or anything like that wouldn't be growing out in nature anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just finish my virtual tour.
Yeah, go for it.
So we've got 4 dams. 2 of them are spring fed. We're very spoilt. And then probably the last thing that's worth mentioning is my brooder house. So when we get baby chicks, baby ducks, whatever it be, we keep them on a very deep carbon bedding, whether it be sawdust, wood chips, wood shavings. Oh God, what have I thrown in there lately? Any form of carbon. Very, very deep. So mine's up to about 2 foot now. And instead of having to haul out the waste product from that, you actually turn it over, and it decomposes. It's an amazing process. So because it's working so hard underneath probably about the first 3 inches, it actually creates a lot of heat, and that helps to keep the chickens, the little baby chickens and ducks warm, which is what they need, which means I don't have to turn as much light on, which just means I'm not burning as much energy. It's an amazing system, and I know it sounds like black magic, but let me assure you, the first 12 months I tried to do this, it didn't work, but I didn't have it deep enough. And now I can scrape off 2-3 inches, and there's steam just bellowing from underneath. It's incredible.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So the compost that I am taking out, I do take bits and pieces out every now and then.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's working really well. So I was cursing Joel Salatin's name there for about 3 or 4 months, saying it doesn't work, but I've since had to apologise because it does work, and it's working in a big way now. So
wow, amazing. Yeah.
So everything I do here, everything I do is all powered by me. I have a tractor that's about 50 years old that I run for about 20 minutes a week, just lifting the big heavy feed bags up and down. And I have a ute that I drive around in. Very low energy. We burn very little diesel. I should work out exactly how low my consumption is, but that's the other benefit of this form of farming. It's powered by me. So it's another big advantage of doing things this way.
Yeah, much better for the environment. You're not using all those resources that we would see in larger scale whether it's factory farms or that type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's a central system. So you just mentioned factory farms, and one of my big policies is you'll never hear me bagging out any other side of the industry. I don't have time, and if you want to see the bad side of the industry, you can find it yourself.
Yeah.
But people, very ignorant people would look at a confinement house and say, wow, isn't that so efficient? Look how much they're turning out of that one factory. But exactly like you just said, my farming starts and finishes at the farm gate.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no other inputs. There's no other. Whereas at a factory farming operation, they're growing hundreds and hundreds of acres of grain somewhere, right, which is just destroying the topsoil and destroying the land.
Yeah.
Then they've got to do something with something coming out the back end, which a lot of it goes into landfill still, unfortunately. So when you look at the entire inputs and all the trucks carting the grain and all the concrete poured and all the trucks taking the excrement out the other end, they're incredibly inefficient. Whereas I use all the waste coming out of my animals is about the most valuable thing in the world to me. So it goes out on the grass and everything's completely central. You see the start and the finish of the entire cycle. There's nowhere else growing anything. It's just, it's a good system.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said that as well. Like, that it's definitely not necessary to bag out other. It's more about just kind of showing what you can do. Like, what are the great things what are the benefits of the way that your farm runs, and what we can do to kind of move forward in the best way possible. Yeah.
And when you throw the numbers at people, I mean, Lucy, you know yourself, I'm an electrician that's moved out to the country and decided to become a farmer. And I've realistically been doing this now. I've been giving it a fair crack for 6 months. And I'll be up about 450 kilos of protein an acre. Now, a good farm in Australia is at about 120, 150. So this is a very efficient way of turning out protein. Because of the multi-species stacking. And this, you can feed the world like this. It's just a bit more work.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here's a question for you, because I hear this all the time, and, it's possible that there'll be people listening that may perceive what I'm about to ask you in a certain way. So I feel like that your type of farming and other types of organic and biodynamic farming gets put into the same boat as factory farming. So it's kind of like, this general thing of meat is bad for the environment, or we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be taking the lives of animals and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I was only in a conversation with someone a few days ago, and I don't engage in that anymore. I just kind of let them say what they want to say and just be like, okay, cool. But there is a lot of misconception out there about what's going on, and I don't know, like, do you come into contact with people?
Oh, I have had problems with vegans and stuff taking over my Facebook and whatever else, but we kind of giggle about that. And you know what? If I get 5 minutes with a vegan to actually explain what I'm doing, they're not shaking my hand, but they're not slapping my face either. So, look, there's a lot of stuff that you can watch, like Cowspiracy and stuff. But that's all. It's like a scientist can get whatever results they want.
Yeah.
When they did that movie Cowspiracy, what they were doing, essentially what they did is they went to all factory farmed feedlot cow facilities and took air samples and stuff where, they got some pretty horrendous results. But come out to my place, there's like 40 cows on my place. They're sequestering tons of carbon a year. They're outputting no methane. If anything, any animal grown in the right scenario is beneficial. Like I said before, nature is inherently healthy and accurate and correct. And I think that's what we're emulating. And look, I do get people like that, but there are some people where you just shake their hand and go, "That's okay, mate." No worries. But most people, you can get them to understand at least what you're trying to do and that there are benefits to what you're doing. So
yeah, absolutely. I just think that education is so important, because there is that perception that it's kind of all put in this general one-size-fits-all boat, and
well, look, that's a big part. That's a big part. That's a big part of what I'm doing, and it's to the detriment of what I'm doing. So when I have people, I laugh and I giggle about that 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, but man, people come out. So when someone rocks up to my place, I stop work, I stop what I'm doing, I take them round. This is every single person, and there are many people that can vouch for this now. And I will give them a tour, and I'll show them exactly what I'm doing, and I'll spend as long as they want with them. Now, that's a half a day lost for me, which is absolutely priceless. But that happens all the time. But that's me, I guess, that's me trying to educate people, and I will always do it. I've done, like you said, you first heard me talk at the wheat, the gluten.
What's with wheat, yeah.
And I've done a few different things with that. We do degustation evenings where we get people in and we allow them to taste what I'm doing, and I shove all my farming techniques down their throat. A lot of them.
Yeah.
But just to start, you've only got to start a conversation, and I've been amazed at some of the greatest opportunities that have fallen in my lap in the last 6 months are completely random people that I've met at the market or have come to the decos nights, or you don't know when your next opportunity is going to come. So you've got to, really got to live this. You've got to live it, and any opportunity, try and, I suppose, spread the word. But no, look, it's a big part of what I'm doing. It always will be, and I'm always going to have that time to educate, because you've got to. If you don't believe in this 1,000,000%, then it's definitely not. It's too hard. This sort of farming is too hard if you're not 100% into it.
For sure. And just going back to what you mentioned before, like with nature and the methane thing that people are worried about. So just a sort of side note on that is that nature's actually that intelligent that there are actually microorganisms in the soil called methanotrophic microorganisms that actually ingest methane and can help with that issue. So that's kind of, I suppose, the intelligence of nature. So that's not a problem. But yeah, I just wanted to add that in there. So, Luke, obviously some people listening to this may not be able to get to your farm or to come and buy from you. So do you have some advice for people of, what do they look for when they're sourcing their meat, and how do they find ethically raised, good quality meat and farm?
Well, look, I'd start by saying, and I'll get to your question, but I'd start by saying, if you've got a house, get 3 chickens. This is, right? If you've got a house, you can grow. Oh my God, you would be shocked how much you can grow and how easy it is. I've not got a green thumb, and I did it before I moved out the farm, and when I was really learning about Joel Salatin, I pulled out every flower in the garden at a house in Gymea, and I grew the most disgusting amount of veggies, and we couldn't eat them all. It was stupid. So that's the first thing is start your own food production.
Yeah.
Get rid of the dog or the cat and get 3 chickens. They're amazing. They'll clean up the yard. They'll clean up the weeds. They'll give you 3 eggs a day. Incredible. To answer your question, though, more broadly about meat, the most important thing you can do is to try and create a relationship with someone. I'm a little bit of a skeptic, but it's only because I've researched it so broadly. I wouldn't trust any label. I would not trust any label. And again, I'm not going to start bad-mouthing any industry, but honestly, any label that requires money to receive, like if there's a money as an input to receive some sort of certification, then it's not worth a pinch of you-know-what to me. I'm my own certification. I would never, ever lump myself in with anybody else, whether they came up with some new pastured pork badge, or it wouldn't matter what it was. I would never, ever do it, because it only takes one person to screw it up and everyone goes out in the bin in the same rubbish, So form a relationship with your farmer. If you're living in Sydney or a major city, it's not that hard. There's farmers markets everywhere. It might take you a day. You can form a relationship with someone, find out what they're doing. If you ask, can I come and see your farm, and they say no, then move on to the next person, because they're obviously not true to what they're claiming. I honestly think that's the only way. It's the only way to form your own relationships and self-certify. Don't trust any badges. Don't trust any labelling. It's you know, if your food security, not even food security, if the quality of your food is that important to you, go to the effort of meeting your farmers. Get that, and look, what's the greatest thing about that is if you're buying direct from farmers, Woolworths and Coles aren't taking their 65%. So there's many benefits from, put it this way, the way my business is going, my 120 acres is going to turn into a lot more than that, and all of a sudden I'm curing a lot more land, I'm influencing a lot more people. We should have some interns through. You know, if you're supporting people like me, this industry will swell. Yeah. And that's what we all want, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a great way to sort of share the responsibility of having a say in what happens to your food and what's going to happen to your food in many, many years to come and many generations and when children come through and all that kind of stuff. Like, it is making that relationship with the people that grow and raise your food. It's so important.
You don't have to go back that far, and this was the norm.
Yeah.
You've only got to go back 45 years. Yeah. I mean, what's 45 years in the scheme of how long?
Yeah.
I mean, you go back 45 years, and that's how things used to work. Unfortunately, you know, I'm not suggesting that I'm not a Luddite, but it used to be the norm, and a localised food network was the norm. And to be honest, I think there's a real trend back into that direction. I'm not sure if we're going to get back where we were 45 years ago, but we're definitely, we're heading that way.
Yeah, for sure. I think all the stuff that was, all this traditional wisdom that was around, even 40, 50 years ago, and, you know, of course, longer than that, it's all coming back around again. You're seeing that with the food now. Not just the farming methods, but the methods of cooking and the the fermented foods and the bone broths.
Man, I can't believe how much bones and livers and kidneys and stuff I'm selling. They're the first thing sold at the farmer's market.
Amazing.
It's great.
I remember because I've kind of been down this rabbit hole for about 6 years now, and I remember when I first started out, there would always be an abundance of all the livers and the bones, and they were so cheap. And now, giving them away half the time. I used to get bones for free all the time, and now, I mean, you get good money for them now at least. But it's really beautiful to see. Obviously, it's the demand that's influencing the supply, and more people are realising this is the way that we've got to go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, 100%. I talked about going back a few years. I mean, the term chemical free gets bandied around a lot now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I heard an ad on the radio today about a pie being chemical free, but I'd love to know if they know where the beef came from, what property it came off, whether they use Roundup, whether that, I mean, all that. When with me and with my company, when we call something chemical free, we mean the ground's never been sprayed, the grass has never been fertilised, petroleum fertilised. It's only been fertilised by chicken poo. No antibiotics, no B12 shots, no immunisations, no worming agents. My wife doesn't even let me use fly spray in the house. Like, we are chemical free, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why you can't lob yourself in with any other groups, because it's just, I think there'd be very few people doing that. There'd be very few people doing that.
What's the deal with then organic when it comes to like meat? Because pasture raised and fed is super, super important. But what about organics? Because I know a lot of people, they just hear the word organic and it's kind of like a buzzword, and it's like, organic this, organic that. But
mate, you've hit on
go for it.
You've hit on something. So I call it the O word. I can't bring myself to say it. But the problem with the organic banner, and it depends how much you read and who you believe. But there are sprays, and there are pesticides, and there are fertilisers that they're allowed to use within the organic banner that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
Put it that way. So when I stand at my market stall and I say to people, well, you've only got to read what's written on my eggs. My egg says 12 free range beyond organic. Sorry, it says 12 beyond organic free range eggs. That's what it says on every carton of my eggs. And it's the greatest conversation starter of all time. What's beyond organic? Because, people think organic is this amazing utopia. I say, well, we don't use any chemicals, like if I took organic status, really I'd be taking 2 steps backwards because I would then, I'd be allowed to then use these different sprays and these different fertilizers that I'm currently not using. So, yeah, it's a slippery slide, the old organic. And look, I'm not sure if anybody remembers the Heart Foundation tick of approval.
Yes.
But in my opinion, it's going the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think it's quite deceiving. It's the organic, it's the chemical free, and it's the natural. Those are 3 things that seem to be buzzwords that people sort of hang on to, but there's a lot more when you look deeper, as you just mentioned. So, yeah, it's really important.
You know what? I suppose there's a bit of a precursor here. I mean, if you're, I know we're all busy, and if you, I know what people are saying now, listen to this, but when I'm in the supermarket or whatever, and I'm trying to do the right thing, or I go to the organic store and it says organic, sure, you just got to do your best, mate.
Sure,
you do your best in that. You do your best in that moment. But what I would say to you is, if you spend a little bit more time researching, and I'm talking about not a lot of time, just finding out where a local farmer is and what he's growing, and eat his seasonal crop. This is the other issue I've got. I mean, people want chickens all round, and when you're pasturing a chicken properly, free range like what I'm doing, you cannot do it in winter. I'm sorry, I don't care where you are. There are some clever with field pods and stuff, but I would argue that that's not properly free range anyway. If you are eating chickens in winter, you are eating a factory bird. And people don't, if you say to people, oh, they've got no tomatoes, they're not in season, they say, oh, okay, yeah, tomatoes, it's a summer crop, no worries. But if you say to people, I've got no chickens, it's a summer crop, they look at you like you've gone mad. But that's another thing, find your farmer and don't go to the farmer's market thinking, all right, I want to do slow-cooked osso bucco this week. Go to your farmer's market thinking, I want to eat his beautiful beef because I know how he grows it and I love everything about it. And whatever he's got there, I'll come up with something. That's how you need to go shopping at your farmer's market. Because it just doesn't always work out the way you want it. So
yeah, for sure. That's awesome advice. I've got just a bit of a fun one for you here, Luke. What's your favourite cut of meat and how would you cook it?
Oh, geez, that is a good one. Depends when you're asking me.
Or one of
those people who have mainly lived in main cities of Australia have probably only eaten factory farmed large white pigs. So if you're in that category, try and source some heritage pork. It will blow your mind. So probably my favourite thing to do at the moment is to get a nice little rack roast, cook some sausages or something for the kids. Don't worry about them. Me and the wife, beautiful rack roast. Saddleback's probably the greatest thing you're ever going to eat in your life. That's the breed of pig I do, the Wessex Saddleback. Do all the veggies in with it. Buy all our veggies. Best thing about being at a farmer's market is you can buy all your veggies off the beautiful organic farmers that are there with you. And, mate, just fantastic. But I tell you, as I was saying that, I'm right into the duck too at the moment. The duck is
yes, your duck is amazing.
So the duck is the crop. The duck is the winter crop. The ducks love the winter. So, yeah. Oh, mate, just all the duck fat rendering down.
Yeah, for sure. And then using it in the cooking. So, the ducks would replace the chickens really in winter.
Yeah. So I've probably got 1,000 ducks running around out there at the moment.
Yeah.
And hopefully not speaking out of turn, but I've just taken on an opportunity to grow probably the best strain of duck in the country at the moment, and we'll be turning out about 1,000 a week. I think.
Wow.
And don't quote me on this.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be the biggest free-range duck producer in the country, and this is properly free-range pastured duck. So those cells are sort of 8 to 10 acres. And they just run around hunting all day. They're incredible. You've got to come out and see 1,000 ducks in a paddock. It's amazing.
I would love to. Wow.
The amount of people have always driven into the trees driving past my place. It's stupid.
Yeah, because when I came out there, you didn't have those ducks yet. So yeah, that'd be amazing.
Well, that's another one. Like, I got a few ducks almost for a giggle, and then I was turning out these beautiful ducks, and I was taking them into the Tinder Creek Duck Processing, which is an amazing complex.
Yeah.
Just a great family-owned company with a big conscience, fantastic facility. And they were looking at the ducks I was bringing through, and they must have been pretty impressed. And then again, I've just landed this opportunity, just kind of plugging away and doing the right thing. And yeah, it's amazing where the opportunities have come from. I honestly thought the pork would be in focus and the eggs, and all of a sudden it's taken a bit of a shift. But
yeah, wow, beautiful.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Would love to know, Luke, like what really inspires you to do what you do, and what really inspires you about what you're creating in the world with Calf Replace Free Range?
Well, I have 2 young boys.
Yeah.
And, I've had some problems when I was a bit younger. I've got a condition called bipolar disorder, and it's definitely not something I shy away from. It's something I'm actually quite proud of. I've gotten through that, and I consider myself mentally much more healthy than any other 33-year-old floating around. But I've got 2 boys, and my absolute priority in life are my 2 boys, and along with my wife. And I just see this as a fantastic opportunity for me to give them the upbringing that I want them to have. First world problems, I was always fed, don't get me wrong, but I probably missed out on that for a large portion of my childhood. Yeah. And I see this as an opportunity for them to get and I see it already, mate. There's already a big difference in my youngest little boy. He's a different kid out on the farm.
Yeah.
So there's that. But then selfishly, between myself and my wife, our relationship's a little bit different, whereas when we had the children, I stopped working.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like my life's been on hold for 6 or 7 years. And that selfishly, I really need to rip into something for my own, for my own being. And this is a ridiculous statement, but being a man with a man's pride, there's a part of you that wants to provide for your family, and that doesn't have to be providing financially. That just means providing something, So
yeah.
I guess that's what drives me. I mean, that's a good question, but look, mate, like I said before, you can't. It can be pissing down raining, and I can be laying under the chicken pod with chicken shitting on me, right, fixing something under the pod or whatever. And I get up and I still got a smile on my face, and I look around and it's 1 degree and I'm still it's happier than I've ever been.
Wow.
So I don't know how to. This is the way I try and describe it to my mates. My mates are all EPL. People that know EPL is the English Premier League, and they're the sort of lunatics that will get up at 2:00 in the morning and make their soup or whatever and sit down. They're all excited. And I would say to them, look, the only way I can explain what I'm doing out there is, when you get up and Manchester United's playing and you've got your coffee and you're ready to go and you wake up with that excitement, like Christmas morning. And yeah. I said, well, that's how I wake up every day.
Yeah, that's really special. I mean, it's like if you found your bliss, right? You found that thing that just lights you up, and that's so beautiful. Yeah.
And then they come out. And then they come out and see my asbestos shanty that we're living in out. And they go, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're okay?" Yeah.
You do it for the love of it, right?
Oh, mate, I love every second of it.
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Well, do you want to? So you've got this beautiful little investment type project that you're sort of working on at the moment with trying to get people involved. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I'm trying to. The other really big part of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to include people in their own food production, whether it be, like me on Facebook, I do a couple of videos a week just so you can see the pigs and you can see the chickens, you can see what I'm doing, and sitting there in your office, you could have a really ordinary day and you can just check on me, just check what I'm doing, essentially see your food, be a part of the way your food is grown. So I'm always thinking about ways to sort of expand on that, and I came up with the idea of this cow funding. So the deal is that it's a $2,000 investment and it's over 2 years. Now, in the package, you get 2 farm stays and 20 kilos of meat for every calf that your cow has and we kill. So when we buy the cow, it'll be pregnant. So within a couple of months, the calf will be on the ground. So very early the next year, we will be killing that one. So when that first calf hits the ground, that's when we want you to use your first farm stay. Come out, meet your cow, ear tag your cow, microchip. Same thing with the calf. Pat the cow. It was very, very friendly, my cows. Then, of course, while you're there, you get the whole tour and you get the whole experience, and you can stay and we do campfire and damper and God knows whatever else. My wife lays it on for everyone. It's fantastic. Always have a fantastic time out there.
Yeah.
And then when the second calf, we'll get her pregnant again. When the second calf comes, do the same thing. Come out, meet your new calf, ear tag the calf, mic the calf. So the deal is every time we kill one of those calves, you get 20 kilos of meat. Okay, so 20 kilos of my meat's about $499. So it's about $1,000 worth of meat in the package, and the 2 farm stays is about another $500. So it's about $1,500. But the kicker is, after 2 years, I'll shake your hand and say, thank you so much, I hope you had a great experience, I'll give you your $2,000 back. Or what I'm hoping is going to happen is you say, this was fantastic, keep my $2,000 and buy me another one. So essentially, you're getting your $2,000 back anyway, you're getting your 2 farm stays, you're getting your 40 kilos of meat, and I'm hoping an experience that your kids and yourself and your kids will remember for the rest of your lives. I'm trying to draw on the same emotion. All my mates own racehorses.
Yeah.
I'm just not into that, and I think this is a better option for people who really care about their food and where their food comes from. I'm hoping we'll be really interested in this model. So, look, when my solicitor was looking for a template to draw this up, we couldn't find one. So I'm thinking we're thinking it's pretty original to us, and yeah, I think it's a pretty cool opportunity. There's no hidden agenda. It's essentially, if anybody wants to email me and get a hold of a contract, I'd be happy to send them out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's an absolutely amazing thing that you're doing, and thank you for kind of putting that out there. I think it's super important, and to my awareness, I don't know of anyone else doing anything like that either. I know that there are different types of like cow shares that people can do, but it's completely different to that. But I don't know of anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's just buying meat cheap.
Yeah.
This is look. Anybody that's looking at this as a financial investment or some sort of financial gain, please don't email me. Somebody that wants a fantastic experience for their children and their family, you're the person I want on board. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be there'll be a separate Facebook group and a separate email group, and I'll be doing, because we move our cows every day, I'll be videoing a lot of that. Everyone will get a unique coloured ear tag, and you'll be able to see your cow moving around. I'm going to do grazing maps, and it'll be very interactive. So
yeah, amazing. Well, we're almost coming up to the end of the show, Luke. Would you just want to maybe let everyone know, is there anything else that you'd like to say, or that maybe we haven't covered today? Anything at all?
Oh, geez, I think you've done well. You've done well. No, look, just take a little bit more responsibility sourcing your food. There are farmers like me everywhere, probably not quite as mad as what I am, but there are fantastic people doing. I mean, I think about the guys I line up with every week at the chicken abattoir. These are good people. Buena Vista down at Gerringong and just so many. There are so many good farmers just on the outskirts of Sydney. Find them, support these guys. Yeah. Do your very best not to go convenient shopping. I'm not going to use their names again. I've already given them one plug. Source your local farmers markets. It's an experience. You get to meet people, and it's a much better experience than shopping anywhere else. So, but no, look, thank you for the opportunity, and I mean, I'm very transparent. I'm an open book. If anybody wants to know anything or know any more or ask any questions or whatever, all the information on our farm stays and all of our products and stuff is on the Facebook or on the website. I'm sure you can link that for us somewhere.
Yeah, we will put it in the show notes. Yeah. What's the link to your website?
It's tathraplacefreerange.com.
Awesome. And then is it just on Facebook and Instagram? It's at
Facebook is just Tathra Place.
Yeah. And
Instagram, I wouldn't have a bloody clue. How bad?
That's all right. It's easy to find you guys, I think, if you just type in Tathra Place or something. Yeah, and we'll definitely link to all of that in the show notes. But is there anything else that you wanted to let anyone know that maybe we can look out for that's coming up? Like, I know you just mentioned the cow funding, perhaps the mentorship and anything else?
Yeah, look, we do school holidays tours, which are obviously targeted towards the kiddies, and I tow a big wagon around, and they all have an absolute ball, and we wrestle pigs, and we, God knows, have duck races and all sorts of fun and games. I had another degustation night, which is 7 courses. The head chef at 1908 at Cronulla is an incredibly gifted man, Dave McGill, and he cooks my food like no one else could.
Wow.
So it's 7 courses, 3 canapes, and then there's a glass of wine with every course. It's $120. It's ridiculous value. It's not sort of have a quiet night with quiet evening with your wife. I give a pretty detailed talk about my farming techniques at the beginning, and then as each course comes out, we explain the different animal and the different species and how it lived and where it ate, what it ate and where it was processed and all the details of its life. And then the chef comes out and he talks about cooking the meal and how he cooked it and why he cooked it the way he did. And we talk about the wine and we play a few games and we give away prizes. It's a fantastic night. So that's all on our website and Facebook as well if people are interested. But other than that, I mean, yeah, long term, horticulture. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. Absolutely nothing. I've got a cover crop on at the moment. The pigs did an incredible job ploughing off this half acre for me. But I want to do, I mean, we're cold climate out there, so sort of garlic and kale and all sorts of marche greens and I've big plans with very, very little ability there.
Yeah.
Anyone that could help me out, please.
Yeah.
But the intern program is progressing well. There's just some legalities there.
Yeah.
We're going to build another house on the property so that the current house we're in can be accommodation for interns.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for the Tathra Place, Tinder Creek, beautiful free-range, chemical-free Peking duck. Yeah, if you can get hold of one of them, I assure you it'll be the greatest duck you've ever cooked in your life. Yeah. It's just an amazing.
Yeah, I can vouch for that for sure. Yeah, I had one a few months ago. Yeah.
And you know, try and source some beef that's not Angus, and try and source some pig that's not a large white, and try and source a chicken that's not a Cornish cross, some sort of heritage Plymouth cross Rhode Island red, or eat what our grandparents used to eat. That's why none of them had allergies. That's why none of them were sick all the time. So, yeah, look. The best thing about finding a farmer like me is I do all these different little nichey kinds of chickens, and you can try some different stuff, you know. So.
Yeah, and the quality speaks for itself. I mean, just when you taste it, it's absolutely delicious. And yeah, it's thank you for doing what you do and for what you guys do here as well. And you're really helping to change the way our food is grown, is raised, is delivered to us, and giving people a voice and a say in what happens with their food. So thank you so much for everything that you guys do.
No, you're very welcome. And big thank you too from me. You said it there, but to my wife. I mean, imagine you had a happy life in the city somewhere, and your husband just approached you and decided he wanted to be a farmer. So big thank you to my wife.
Yeah.
She's incredible. She's gone along the journey, and she rips in. She has a go. It's good. It's lovely to watch her. She's trying, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I know that she does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff as well that people don't get to see, right?
All of it.
Yeah. So absolutely. Give Pia a shout out there too.
Put it this way, I didn't really even know what Skype was. So if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be talking to you.
Well, there you go. Awesome. Well, and I suppose also we'll just say to anyone that's in Sydney too, so you're at Ramsgate Market every Saturday?
Yeah.
Is that the only one you're not doing Sutherland anymore, are you?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Yeah. Not at the moment. But look, there's movement in that camp as well, as far as another market. We just look, like I said, I've seriously people. I mean, we've got to remember that I've had about a 6-month run at this, so I'm trying to catch up with it. So I've no doubt that there'll be another farmers market somewhere else soon, more central to the city, where people can come and grab this stuff. So
awesome. Awesome.
Hey, look, like the Facebook. We're always updating that. Any news, it's going on there. So yeah, like the Facebook. And I guarantee you'll get a giggle because whenever I do a video, I fall over or something stupid.
I like your videos. They're real and unfiltered.
People always say to me, "What? When you drop the phone, why didn't you just redo it?" I'm like, "Mate, I just don't have time. I couldn't start."
Yeah, just one take. One take's enough.
Oh, mate, that's it.
Yeah,
mate. If it's any more than one take, I get the poops with it and throw the phone back in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you've got animals to look after, so
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Luke, for your time, for coming on the show. It's been awesome talking with you.
No worries. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, everyone, for listening. And as always, you can find me at www.reconnected.me, and would absolutely love it if you're able to head on over to iTunes, subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave a rating and review because it actually helps to spread this message even further. It gets the podcast in front of more people, and, with that, we're able to help more people and spread this message. And if there's anyone in your life that you know that may benefit from hearing a conversation like this, feel free to share it with them. And until next time, I'll talk with you guys soon.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.